If you've been following along, we have been posting all of our meals for 2025. This is the meals number 5 video that is for the year. We are ending February going into March for this video. But right at the very beginning of this 2-week cycle, I had made taquitos and avocado ranch. Now this is kind of cool because we haven't been to the grocery store at this point in 15 days and those avocados were still perfect. In the Instapot, I made the taquito filling just with some salsa and chicken and added some beans. And then I had some homemade stock that was frozen that I tossed in there. And then I was able to shred the chicken really easy and make the taquitos that I baked in the oven afterwards. But those were great for meal prep and we put some of them in the freezer and those have been really handy to pull out for lunches. And the avocado ranch, we made a whole YouTube video on it and we have the recipe. So make sure that you're following along to our channel so you can see how to make avocado ranch dressing from wholesome ingredients. And this is the only way that I can sneak avocados into my husband's diet. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is the Cross Legacy where I teach you how to save money on groceries. And if you're just watching this, know that I only go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks. Sometimes I'm pushing that out to 4 weeks. And for time references for this video, this started on February 25th and it goes to March 10th. But the last time I went grocery shopping was February 10th. And after we get done filming today's video on March 10th, then I'm going to do my March grocery shopping trip. So our total groceries for the month for the two of us is only $270. The second meal that we had was actually not one of Mike's favorites and it kind of cracks me up that I was craving it. And we had tuna casserole, which is something that I remember from my childhood and he actually likes it once I make it. But when I say that's what we're going to have for dinner, he normally turns up his nose a little bit, but then he enjoys it. But I like following different YouTubers while I'm cooking dinner and it helps me remember if I'm missing something because I barely ever use a recipe. So while I was watching this, I was also listening to 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 YouTube channel, The Wise Guide, and I loved that he was talking about making a tuna casserole from scratch from his childhood also. So it's not just me that likes a classic. We are in the middle of a pantry challenge because we are getting ready to move. So I've been trying to use up a lot of the items that are in our working pantry. So things like the tuna casserole were ingredients that we had that I wanted to cycle through. And we also had some fresh produce in there that I wanted to use up. I made this stuffed acorn squash recipe that's actually one of the recipes in our zero waste produce guide. Those acorns can last in your pantry for 6 to 9 months when they're not stored near other produce items. So I try to keep all of the zucchini and squashes together. Zucchini meaning like large leg size zucchini, not the smaller size that needs to go in your refrigerator. But all of the tips for all 75 produce items to get them to last weeks or longer are in our zero waste produce guide. And this book and our meal planner that I'll be talking about are on a bundle deal for just for YouTube. And if you go to the link in the description, there is the bundle sale price with an added discount code. This was Friday night. Normally we do something fun like tacos or pizza, but we actually had a meeting and I knew I was going to be all dressed up. And if I didn't plan something right when I walked in the door, I would want to go out to eat. And we have been trying so hard in 2025 not to go out to eat unless it's a special occasion. So we have had no takeout either or drive-thrus so far in the last 3 months. But having that quick plan when we walked in the door, I pulled some croissants out of the freezer that we have been trying to use up. I get the large 12 packs from Costco and then divide those up into smaller bags and put them in the freezer and then we can pull out a couple at a time and that 12 pack lasts us for 6 months or so. We had chicken salad sandwiches and a whole bunch of veggies, but we were out of mayo. So I just quickly whipped up some avocado mayo with my immersion blender and we had dinner within 5 minutes of walking in the door. So we had fresh grapes, celery, carrots, peas, and cucumbers that at this point were 2 weeks old and they were totally fresh. So being in the middle of this pantry challenge, we're trying to use up some of the things that are in there, but one of those things are some Rice Krispies from when Grandma lived here with us, and I have been kind of holding on to them. They were in a glass jar, and so they have stayed fresh for an entire year. But we had some marshmallows left over that we didn't use last fall when we were going to make s'mores, and so we ended up making some Rice Krispie treats. Those marshmallows were also in a glass jar with a metal lid, so even though they were 6 months old at the time, they were still totally fresh. But I kind of have a funny story about the Rice Krispies, and when Grandma was living here, she was 95 years old, and Rice Krispies was one of the things that she enjoyed. And I was trying to ask her if she wanted different kinds of cereal, like Cheerios or something else. And she was like, nope, I don't want any of that new fandangled stuff. And I kind of thought it was funny. And then I started researching it and looking it up. And Cheerios didn't come out until she was in high school. Rice Krispies was the cereal that she had grown up with, and Cheerios didn't come out until she was almost an adult. So it was just kind of a fun memory, and I thought that I would share it. But using those Rice Krispies and making a treat was just something enjoyable to have over the weekend. Saturday was beautiful. It was the first sunny day that we had in like 9 months here in the Seattle area. It felt like. But Mike got the grill out and we had some T-bone steaks, while I got to mess around in the garden and get the first dirt manicure of the year. Even though we are planning on moving, I'm still planting our garden, and I hope that maybe somebody's taking care of their house that we're going to be moving into too. So with the T-bone steaks, we had grilled zucchini, and it was just a really easy, simple dinner. So I normally say that I go grocery shopping every 3 weeks, and that is what we plan for. But at this point, we are 20 days in since we went grocery shopping last. And normally that day before, I am planning and looking at my inventory to see what we have. And I realized that we could push it out a whole other week. So instead of going grocery shopping on Monday, I decided that we could wait until the next Monday, which is today, to go grocery shopping. So some of those things that we are eating now that we are 3 weeks into the grocery cycle is we were having eggs with sun-dried tomatoes that were in the refrigerator and fresh spinach. And then when I was doing that little inventory of checking to see what was in my refrigerator, we have a video for that too, I found some feta cheese that was in a glass jar, and it was actually all the way from July. Now we're in March, and it was still fresh. So I was trying to use up some of that feta cheese to put it on my eggs, and I've been using those up the last couple days. We get a meat delivery every 2 years. We buy a half a beef, and with that we put $50 aside every month out of that $135 per person grocery budget. So we tried to not spend all of our grocery money and set some of that aside. But since we're trying to use up the last of the beef before we start using new beef, there's some cuts that I just don't use very often. So these were short ribs that I wouldn't normally buy at the grocery store, but they are delicious when you take the time to make them. So I made braised short ribs. They cooked in a Dutch oven all afternoon, and they were really lovely. And then while they were cooking, I also had some other things going on in the oven. So we had beets that went with the short ribs, and then I also, while that was cooking, I was cooking up some butternut squash that we used later for another recipe. And while that was cooking, I was going through some of our pantry items and stocking up our jars in our spice drawer. These jars are all filled now and should last us for the next couple months, so I can put away the bulk jars into a box as we're getting our pantry ready for moving. We just filmed another video talking about how I'm rotating the food to get ready to move, so make sure that you check that out. If it's not out before this video, make sure you hit subscribe so you'll get notified when the video comes out. We had a farro grain bowl for dinner. This only took a couple minutes to prepare because I did most of it in the Instapot with homemade broth, and it just cooked on its own. I used that butternut squash that I cooked the night before. I added spinach and fresh apples, and I pulled out some pulled pork that I had in the freezer that was already cooked. So everything just came together really nicely with some fresh apples. So there were some cooked apples in it and then fresh apples on the side. It was a great wholesome meal. You don't have to add add meat to it either if you don't want to. The recipe for the grain bowls are on the blog. This day I was away for meetings and came home and wanted to have dinner within minutes of walking in the door. So in January, I had made a ton of enchiladas and I had froze them on a tray and then put them away in a bag so we could just pull out 1 or 2 at a time, and we were able to have dinner with just minutes of walking in the door. This meal is the one meal I did not cook for the last 2 weeks. So we were actually with our family and we had taco salads, but it just kind of helped me remember something that we used to have taco salads with Doritos, and that's what they served was Doritos. And I haven't bought Doritos in like 8 to 10 years because we had found out that there was something in them that was causing migraines for one of our kiddos. So that was the thing that we were able to pinpoint that were triggering these migraines, and it just helped us years ago become a cleaner family with the ingredients that we brought into our house. So even though the Doritos were a little nostalgic in having them and I was thankful not to cook a meal, it kind of reminded me that that was one of the reasons why we had started going more organic and simple ingredients in our house. So I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy, which is a pain syndrome, and it affects all of my joints and my body. And I have learned over the years, after getting rid of the preservatives and other things in my diet, those issues that I was having for 20 years have cleared up a lot. And when all of our kids are home and everything, we are an allergy family. So I deal with some nut sensitivities and soy, but when everybody's home, it's soy, gluten, dairy, raw sugar cane, and we have one vegetarian. So I have learned over the years how to make meals that make everybody happy. This was a day that I was gone all day, and I asked Mike to pull something out of the freezer because he knew where the prepared meals were, and put it in the refrigerator so it defrosted. And I got home, it was like 8 o'clock at night and hadn't ate dinner yet, and I thought he forgot to pull out my dinner. I was a little sad, and then just realized he put it in the fridge in a different place than I would have put it. So anyways, dinner was saved. I was able to heat up dinner right away, and I did eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night, but I didn't go to bed until like 2 o'clock in the morning, so it was totally fine. But we had meatloaf, mashed potatoes, some peas. I was eating some fresh carrots while that was heating up at 8 o'clock at night. This was actually a lunch that I had. It was tuna salad on avocado. Again, I'm trying to rotate some of the items that I have in my pantry and use up some of these canned tuna and canned chicken that is from the pandemic. So the best buy date for those, say 2024, they'll actually last 3 years past that best buy date, but I still want to cycle through those. So I've been eating a little bit more tuna and canned chicken than we normally do. Anyways, can you check out the avocado? This avocado for the tuna salad is 3.5 weeks old at this point. So I normally will eat avocado instead of having bread for tuna salad. When I was doing that video showing you guys what was in my refrigerator after 3 weeks, I decided that I had all the ingredients that I could make gyros, and I had the frozen pita bread in the freezer. So we get the packages at Costco, and then I just pull out 2 or 3 at a time, and that way we can have it for dinner. And I totally just made this super easy with a sheet pan and put the chicken and vegetables on the sheet pan. And then I used those cucumbers that were 3.5 weeks old and made the sauce to go on it. That sauce we are going to send out in the newsletter, and the newsletter link is in the description. So make sure you're checking out all the information in that description for the video. And to be honest, our house is a total disaster because Mike is remodeling our main bathroom. So everything is moved all over in the house right now as we are getting the bathtub refinished. We put new flooring in. This weekend they put a new toilet and a new vanity. We're waiting for the sink. Yes, we're using another bathroom, but all of this is happening and we're still trying to function and live here in the house and not go out to eat. So we kind of had made this deal that if we only went out to eat for special occasions and we use whatever our budget is, so that kind of varies per season, that takeout budget that we normally use, I am putting that away in our move fund because I really want to get a new couch. Our couch is 18 years old and I really want to get a new couch when we move. So we have not had any takeout, even though we've been doing some very long drives, and only have went out so far in 2025 2 times, and those were special occasions that we went out with our family. But seriously, the couch is from 2007 when I used to be a mortgage broker before the market crashed. So it really is old, and financially, I really do think about all the things because of my background in not only teaching, but my financial background. Over the weekend, while there was all the construction going on, I decided I wanted to make some muffins. So we have some canned pumpkin in the pantry that I was thinking about using, and then I remembered that we had made some baby food for a video and nobody has used that yet. I had some frozen pumpkin in super cubes, and then when I was looking, we also had some frozen butternut squash. So I made 2 batches of muffins, and these are different than the ones that we already have on the blog because they are high protein, low sugar, and I made them with cottage cheese. So it was a great way to use up a couple cups of cottage cheese before we get ready to go grocery shopping today. So some of the muffins we have in the refrigerator, and we can eat those for breakfast or for snacks because they are high protein and low sugar. And then the rest I put in the freezer so we can use them over the next couple months. Something else that we normally always have is Greek yogurt here in the house. I get it every time we go grocery shopping, and so since we're trying to get ready to go grocery shopping again, I made some yogurt bark and used up some of those old strawberries. The strawberries were 3 weeks old last Monday when I made the yogurt bark, and we filmed that for a YouTube video that will be up shortly. We had lettuce wraps for dinner. This was super easy because I already had the meat mixture in the freezer. I had made it either January or February and was able to just reheat that, and then I made some rice noodles really quickly to give it that little bit of crunch and used some water chestnuts that I had in the pantry. But with that, I was using the lettuce that was almost 4 weeks old. We're 2 days shy of it being 4 weeks old, and I love that I'm able to teach produce tips, not that you can just wash them that day, but we're actually using the produce 3 and 4 weeks into the grocery cycle. So you might see other videos that are teaching you how to wash things, but it's not truly lasting unless you're using the techniques that I'm teaching you how to wash your produce. Last night for dinner, we made some fried rice. I had made rice the day before and put it in the refrigerator. I find when I do that, it changes the balance of it. It doesn't affect my glucose numbers as much. So making fried rice, I added a bunch of eggs to it. I also cooked up some bacon and some onions, and I divide the bacon packages into smaller packages and put them in the freezer. And with the bacon, I ended up cooking the bacon and onions and setting a little bit of it aside so I could make eggs today. And we added the rest of the zucchini that was 4 weeks old into it. I had 1 piece of celery, some carrots that was in that, and then I grabbed some chives that I had outside, and we had fried rice, with some shrimp. So we were able to have a quick and easy 1-pan dinner. I was also able to make 2 lunch-sized portions of the fried rice with that. So it was a great way to use up a bunch of the vegetables that I had straggling along right before we go grocery shopping. And then right before filming this, Mike just ate another chef salad. So we are still using that lettuce. That is 4 weeks old, and we've used up almost all of the other produce that we had. And as soon as we wrap up this video, we are going to head to Costco and Fred Meyer's to do our March grocery shopping haul that will take us all the way into April. I hope you enjoyed this video and see how we kind of rotate things through different seasons of our life, and not just the weather, but how things are going and how busy we are. Don't forget to check out that link in the description for the Zero Waste Produce Guide and the grocery planner. And we have a brand new cover that we are debuting right now, and the lemon cover is back. So you have 5 different choices of covers to help you save money on groceries.